Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is September 23rd, 2025, and bad news because the city of Barcelona has denied the permit for the return of the Spotify Camp Nou. Also, Deco continuing his work as he tries to establish a network in South America. I'll tell you all about it. And finally, an update in regards to Frankie de Jong's contract renewal. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. We'll begin this video by discussing the Spotify Camp Nou because Barcelona had submitted all the paperwork to the city of Barcelona in hopes to obtain the permit to return to the Camp Nou with a capacity of 27,000 people, and they were hoping that they could return by the match against Real Sociedad this upcoming weekend. But today the city announced that they are not giving Barcelona the license to return to the Camp Nou. Now, I'm going to read to you the statement by the city, which explains why the permit has been denied. But first, let's just backtrack a little bit in case you're not aware of what the processes have been so far leading up to this point. Now, when Barcelona finalized the section behind South Goal and one of the lateral sections, that's the section, that's the 1A sections, which will host 27,000 people. They submitted the paperwork to the city. The city sent inspectors. They inspected it. They gave Barcelona a list of things that they needed to address and repair, and they denied the license. Barcelona went back, did more work on those sections. They submitted the certificate again a second time, the certificate of completion. Again, a second time, the city sent inspectors, and now the inspectors have told the city to deny the license, and today the city explaining why they denied it. We're in a review phase. Most issues are related to deficiencies in evacuation exits and stadium clearance. There's a violation of regulations. Also, elements related to accessibility affect movement safety during evacuation, poor signage barriers, and poorly completed stairs. Additionally, issues concerning vehicle access. So it looks like there's a lot of violations, more especially with evacuation routes, and that's why the license has been denied. But the silver lining is the following. However, significant work has been accomplished, and we do not expect the process to be too lengthy. The number of deficiencies is not large, but we believe they can be resolved quickly. Again, the number of deficiencies is not large, but we believe they can be resolved quickly. This verification process involves several parties: certification companies, environmental oversight bodies, and the actual executor of the work. This last paragraph is explaining why the permit process takes so long, because there's a lot of inspections done by a lot of people. And then we continue on with these three criteria must be met. As of today, regarding the field review, there are adjustments needed. There are deficiencies that must be corrected, some of which relate to safety, where we cannot afford to make mistakes. There is progress, but some adjustments are still needed. We are in the final stage. So there you have it, folks. The city explaining that the reason they denied the permit is that, well, there's still some work to be done in regards to safety, evacuation plans, and things like that. But the good news is that there's not a lot of work to be done. So if Barcelona go back, fix whatever the city told them to fix, then they can apply again, and hopefully the permit will be issued, and hopefully it won't be too far away since there isn't much work done. Most of the work has already been completed. So if you want to look at it from the silver lining, well, that's the silver lining. Now, I did see some YouTubers, I don't watch really English-speaking YouTubers, but Spanish-speaking YouTubers complaining about, oh, the city this and the city that, and why are they doing this, and they have it against Barcelona, and blah, blah, blah. Talking about how Real Madrid were allowed to open the Bernabeu, even though the Bernabeu was in a worse state. Look, it's pretty simple here. There are laws and there are codes that everybody needs to follow when they do a construction or when they want to open a business. If you follow the laws and the codes, you get the license. If you don't get the license. It's that simple. After all the city is doing here is following the rules and the laws and making sure that the structure is safe. Because let's not forget, when this stadium is fully built, it's going to host 100,000 people. That's a lot of people in one place. And if one of the codes was not followed, and God forbid, maybe part of the structure collapses, that's thousands of people dead. If a fire breaks out because the electric work wasn't done correctly, that's thousands of people dead. If there's an emergency and people cannot evacuate fast enough because the evacuation routes are not done correctly, That's thousands of people dead. This is not something you can overlook. This is not something you can half-ass. This is not something you can shortcut. This needs to be done the correct way. And until the stadium is not done the correct way, there will be no license as it should be. Okay, sure, Madrid, the city of Madrid allowed Real Madrid to start when they shouldn't have, but that's their problem. What we need to be happy about here is that we have a city, the city of Barcelona, who cares about following the law and who cares about the safety of those attending Barcelona matches. So I don't think this is anything the city is doing wrong. It's just simple. Everybody goes through this process, and until you meet all the codes, no license. Now, since Barcelona will not be getting the license for the Camp Nou, they have officially announced that the match against Real Sociedad will be held at the Montjuic Stadium, at the Olympic Stadium. This is the official statement by the club saying FC Barcelona informs that the match corresponding to match day 7 of the league on Sunday 28th of September at 6:30 p.m. against Real Sociedad will be played at Estadi Olympique Luis Companys. The club continues to work to obtain the necessary administrative permits for the opening of the Spotify Camp Nou in the coming days. Now, as I reported previously, even if Barcelona had received the permit and returned to the Camp Nou for this upcoming weekend against Real Sociedad, they still would have played the match against PSG at the Olympic Stadium because of capacity issues and UEFA rules and visitor tickets, allotted tickets, etc., etc., etc. But now they're going to be playing the match against PSG and the match against Real Sociedad. And check this aerial image of the Olympic Stadium. They have already started installing the grass. So movement there as far as the stadium, which for now is going to host 2 matches, Real Sociedad and against PSG. Honestly, I think Barcelona should not have moved out of the stadium at the end of last season. I think we should have continued playing in the stadium until we had the permits in hand. Because just think about all the money we lost playing Joan Gamper Trophy at the Estadio Johan Cruyff, Valencia match at the Estadio Johan Cruyff, Getafe at the Estadio Johan Cruyff. I think Real Oviedo also at the Estadio. That's a lot of matches that have been played at Estadio Johan Cruyff where we lost a lot of money. Remember, at the Olympic Stadium, it was 2.8 million euros per match. Estadio Johan Cruyff, 300,000. So that's 2.5 million lost per match. I think we should have stayed at the Olympic Stadium. We could have made that money. And then once Barcelona had the permit in hand to return to the Camp Nou, then we should have moved out of the Olympic Stadium. Anyways, from bad news, we move on to good news because, ladies and gentlemen, Deco continues to do work behind the scene next to his newly appointed head of scouting, João Amaral. Of course, João Amaral, we talked about him. He used to work at a Portuguese club in the Portuguese league. He recently signed for Barcelona as the head of scouting, and it's been revealed that Deco and Amaral have been meeting with a lot of agents, more specifically Gabriel Sabate, in order to establish connections and a network in South America in order to recognize and identify young emerging talent. Now, we know Barcelona has already been working on a network in Africa, and the African continent, to identify young players, young emerging talent, and sign them when they're still, diamonds in the rough, right? We've signed a lot of players this way, Brahim Diarra, David Odro, etc., etc. And now Deco and Amaral trying to establish those connections, even though they're both very familiar with the South American market, but trying to establish those connections so they can kind of have, first dibs on young emerging talent in South America, which, of course, one of the biggest continents for producing talent. So really glad to hear this because who knows? The next Messi could be somewhere in South America. Now, we will end today's video with the news that, ladies and gentlemen, we do have an update in regards to the contract renewal of Frankie de Jong. Now, as you know, Frankie de Jong's contract expires at the end of the season, summer of 2026. Barcelona have been working on renewing his contract. There's been a lot of delays because Frankie decided to end his relationship with his agent. It took some months. Now he has lawyers representing him. And now it's been revealed that, the contract is almost renewed. There's only final details pending. And it seems that Barcelona will be giving Frankie de Jong a 3-season extension until 2029. They're also offering him a lower salary, and it's reported that Frankie de Jong has accepted all these major terms. And again, right now they're just finalizing the last few details before they put pen to paper, and Frankie de Jong renews with Barcelona for, again, 3 more seasons until 2029. Now, it's reported that once Barcelona have secured the contract renewal of Frankie de Jong, the next one will be Eric Garcia, whose contract also expires at the end of the season, and who Barcelona have already met with his agent in order to establish the foundation and begin to discuss his renewal. Anyways, that is all the news for this video. We'll be uploading another video in a few moments, so stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Barca.